T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. Today, we're going to be interviewing Carolyn O'Byrne, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Daisy's Place, and we will have that interview right after these messages. This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you by the 79th Faulkner Bible Lectureship Sunday, October 22nd through Thursday, October 26th on the campus of Faulkner University in Montgomery, Alabama. This year's theme is Reconnect. The Jenkins Institute's Better series will be a part of the program in 2023, along with sessions geared towards youth and family ministry. There will be daily chapel programs and evening keynotes to encourage and equip you in your walk with Christ. The mission of Faulkner University is to glorify God through education of the whole person, emphasizing integrity of character in a caring Christian environment where every individual matters every day. For more information, go to faulkner.edu or click the link in the description of this episode. I'm Travis Creasy. That is all-pro counselor with 3 Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Ben Hayes, how are you today on this, where I am in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, or Alabama, however that falls. It's a beautiful day outside. So how are you?
It is pretty beautiful here too. There was a little wreck outside the church just a few minutes ago that didn't look terribly pretty, but I think everybody was okay. But the sun is shining and it's a good day. And I do think South Pittsburgh is in Alabama. They would be offended, but maybe I'm wrong. So I don't know.
There's enough Tennessee fans up here that I've met.
That's true. So
they won't care.
Anyway, maybe it is South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I don't know. Do you know?
I think it's Tennessee.
It might be Tennessee. I'm sorry. I just offended them.
It's close to Alabama.
It's right there on the line somewhere.
So. Right there on the line. Well, as I mentioned, we'll be interviewing Carolyn O'Byrne. She reached out to me a few weeks ago, or maybe days. I don't know. Time is a weird thing. Some of her kids have attended Titus Camp, where I am a co-director. And the fact that she is willing to still talk to me is always a positive. But we did want her to come on. She had reached out to me to talk about a new venture in her life called Daisy's Place. And so we'll just kind of start with the story that led up to this being on your heart. And then, of course, we'll let you have an opportunity to kind of share what goes on there or what is going to go on. And I think you may have a plea of some sort to our listeners as well. But tell us a little bit about the story that led up to Daisy's Place.
Sure thing. In 2003, Daisy was 17 months old. And her whole life had been quite interesting, that things just weren't exactly right. And that's a story in itself. But when we finally determined what was wrong, after me begging doctors her whole entire life that something was wrong, they found out that she had congestive heart failure. And when they dug into what was going on, it actually wasn't her heart. Her heart was fine, but her body had just gotten the wrong information, her immune system. And her immune system was killing her heart. And it had gotten it down to 13%. And so by this time, all those quirky things that I had been telling them about, that they just thought I was one of those moms that are kind of too much, what my girls would say, too much. It wasn't a mom that was too much. It was a mom that was begging for the life of her child. I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew something was wrong. So we went. At the time, we lived in Athens, and we went to Vanderbilt. Well, we went to Huntsville first, but transferred over to Vanderbilt. And I got dropped off there because I wasn't going to leave her, so I didn't need a vehicle. And so we were there for weeks. She had several procedures done. One of the medications that they gave her that was an immunosuppressant was experimental, and it was supposed to last 14 days in this time frame, that from start to finish. But in just a few days, she started getting these little red dots on her. And I would call the doctor in, and they said it was just contact dermatitis. And I knew that wasn't what was it. Again, I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew that wasn't it. But it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew until her whole body was covered. Her fever last time they checked, had gone up to 106.8. And she was in a coma, self-induced a coma, for 3 days from the excruciating pain. And it had chemically fried her from the inside out. People thought she was a burn victim. All of her skin came off and about as thick as a sheet of paper. Her little blonde, curly cherub hair, her scalp was off so thick that I would have to pull it to the ends of her hair just to get the scalp off. It wasn't like flecky skin. It was like sunburn, thick coming off skin. So that was another hurdle. Her circulatory system was underdeveloped, so they couldn't get a IV when we first got there. 2 failed PICC lines in her arm. The circulatory system was so underdeveloped that a PICC line didn't even work. So they went in through her chest to do a central line. And our little baby next door neighbor had MRSA. So guess what was next? And at that point, she went into ICU again. She had gone into ICU for a while for the central line. But again, she went into ICU, and this time was a while because it was very, again, touch and go. The chemical burn made it touch and go. Anyway, so while she was in there for that extremely extended time, when your loved one goes into ICU, you don't have that room anymore. So I had weeks of belongings, no place to put them, no place to put me, nothing to eat. So I was kind of hungry, but we were making it, but we just didn't have extra. We just didn't have a whole lot for me to buy 3 meals a day. Yeah. So a wonderful older couple, I love them so much. They both passed. But they brought their old 80s conversion van and parked it out in the Vanderbilt parking lot. And I hauled all my junk in there. Probably about 1 o'clock in the morning or so, I would cry my way out to the van, sleep for a few hours, and go back in because I wasn't leaving her. ICU does not like you in there. They don't have a convenient bathroom. They won't let you eat in there. They didn't have a chair in there. So about 20 hours a day, I would stand beside her. And so, because I really was quite concerned that was probably the last time I was going to see her. And during this time, I had not taken care of me at all. My guts were in a shape. Just imagine the nerves.
In every way.
In every way.
And you can't take care of yourself if you're at a hospital.
Right.
Like you said, you're not sleeping. You're probably not eating well, junk food or whatever it may be. You're just surviving. Mm-hmm. So you're right. You just can't. I don't know many people that take care of themselves very well in that situation.
Right. And the same lady that brought the van did come about once a week and get my laundry, which was a godsend because who thinks of that? Like, how do you do your laundry in the hospital?
Yeah.
I did take a shower in Daisy's little bathroom in her room, but when she was out, I just didn't. So that wasn't something that they couldn't bring me the shower in the van.
Wow.
But back up just a little bit in that experimental drug process, one of the things that they didn't warn me of was that she was going to need blood transfusions. It was going to jolt her little body so much that her blood wasn't going to be worth anything. So when I found that out, they were fixing to do it right then. And I said, hold up. If I can give her my blood, wouldn't that be better? Why? I would much rather her have my blood than a stranger's blood. And I'm grateful for strangers' blood. Right. But still. So they weren't very happy about it, but they did stop the process and let me go run across the street to the Red Cross and give my blood. It wasn't good enough. I had so neglected self that my blood wasn't good enough for her. So she ended up getting stranger's blood. But so fast forward, we got out of the hospital and got to go home. She had this little fanny pack. She was by this time 19 months old. Wow. And she had the central line is what got MRSA, and they couldn't get it better. So that had to come out, and she had to go into surgery and have what they call a Broviac line implanted right here. And it stayed in from May until November.
Wow.
And she had a little fanny pack that had all of her IV medication, and we went home. So I had to learn how to be a nurse.
And she's all this with one that's almost 2.
Yeah.
So we know what 2-year-olds are like.
You know what? She was a champ. She had this little mesh thing right around here that kept her lines up. Yeah. And if any of it would fall out, she would come find me and say, "Mama, Mama," to fix it. And
That's awesome.
she would protect it. She was 2 years old, and she protected it. And every night we had to dress it. You know, we had to take the special thing off, and we had to do the iodine and this and that. And I got, somehow, this was another God thing. I would say, "Okay, raise your arms up. It's time for Mom to fix it." And she would lay there with her arms up like this and let me take care of that line.
I'd say that's a miracle in and of itself.
Yes.
Just to have a kid, a 2-year-old that would, that's so calm enough to allow you to do something like that. That's awesome.
A champ. She was a champ. So, so she was on like 3 different antibiotics. She was on immunosuppressants because they were killing her immune system to try to let it forget what it thought it knew. And it worked. That part did work. She was on about 13 different medications. A lot of them were IV. Some of them were oral.
So how long did that phase last before she was able to get all that removed?
She was...
Or that was till November?
She was on the IV stuff until November.
Gotcha.
I don't remember how long the oral medicine lasted. It's been a day or 2.
Yeah, sure.
But it was quite an ordeal. I'll just say that.
And so fast forward, she is no longer a little girl.
She is not a little girl.
How old is she now?
She's 21.
21.
Wow.
What's her health like at the moment? Physically?
She has some. She still has some physical issues. Her heart is in the 90-something percentile.
Wow. That's incredible.
What I didn't mention at the beginning of the story is when the doctor came in to tell us what was wrong at Huntsville Hospital, they said she's going to need a new heart if she lives long enough. And praise the Lord, she did not have a new heart. It is her original heart that is in the 90-something percentile.
That's incredible. Lots of prayers.
Oh, boy.
From you guys and from your church family.
Yes.
And just everybody in general, I'm sure, getting you through that. So, you've already touched on kind of the things that people did to help you, the conversion van and the laundry, and I'm sure there's others, other things that people did.
Our yard never looked so good. People took care of the yard. They brought food. They took care of the other children at home. There were 3 more at home.
I was about to say, there were other kids too. Yeah, and that's a big deal.
And because of my church family that I will never forget, I was able to focus on her. Mm-hmm. And of course, I missed my other kids, and that was really hard. But I knew they were taken well care of.
Yeah.
What you said, you'd mentioned, and one of the reasons we had talked, and I mentioned in the introduction, is now you have taken your experience, the difficulty of trying to stay near her, and you've transformed that into helping other people. And that's always impressive. I think about the scripture, basically, and this is kind of maybe an odd scripture, but, at the end of Romans 8, it talks about all things work for the good of those who love the Lord. And so when bad things happen to us or circumstances happen to us, I think the devil just has to hate when he sends things or things are done to kind of crush our faith. And instead of that happening, we actually respond and try to help others. And so I think it's a tremendous thing that you are trying to do and are in the process of doing in taking something that you experienced that was difficult and now using it, trying to assist others who are in a similar situation with Daisy's Place. And so maybe take us through your processing all this stuff that happened to you, and now taking that and using it actually for good.
Well, I was able to help some other mamas in the journey that had some children with other, not exactly similar, but other circumstances. That was a blessing to be able to help others with that. But it's always been on my heart to get a house close to the hospital. And when the new hospital was being built, I had my scan going for houses in that area for years. When I knew it was coming, I wish I had known then what I know now. It would have probably gotten a better deal. But anyways, but I got a house right across the street from North Alabama Medical Center, and it's a 4-bedroom house that is a very older house. I don't know this for sure, but I've been told it's one of the old river houses that were down there at the river.
Oh, wow. And they brought it back up.
They brought it up when they built the dam. I don't know that for a fact. Somebody told me that they thought that's what it was. So I'm going off someone else's thought. But it is older, 20s or 30s house. But it's quite suitable, and I did a little bit of remodeling on it, and it's very close, very, very, very close to the hospital. You can see the Bone and Joint front and center. I mean, the Bone and Joint building, which is right
connected
there, connected
to the hospital.
Yeah.
So you're within walking distance.
Absolutely.
I mean, you just walk across the highway.
If you didn't worry
if
about
you worry
dying,
about the traffic, the
if you
traffic's
didn't think
pretty
you
rough.
might die on crossing Veterans.
Maybe a bridge is coming later.
Actually, I did suggest that
That
to
would
our
be awesome.
councilman.
That would be awesome.
It would be. That would be really fantastic. And they said they actually thought of that. So let's put that on the prayer list.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But so because of Daisy's story and my story, it's our story. With her being the loved one and me being the caretaker, it has been so important to me to do something for the caretakers, because caretakers, I'm begging you, if you're a future caretaker or a present caretaker, please take care of you, because you love those loved ones and you need to be in tip-top shape yourself so that you can take care of your loved one the way you want them to be taken care of. And so that's my goal, is to take care and love on the caretakers. Daisy's Place will have every single thing you need: a bed, a shower, a washer and dryer, and food. Now, I'm not coming over and cooking your meals for you, but it'll be doing
maybe
yourself.
a microwave with some ramen noodles or something.
There's a full kitchen with everything you need. The fridge and freezer will be stocked. You'll have everything you need: breakfast, lunch, and supper. Everything you need for toiletries and cleaning supplies and laundry detergent. And if there is something I have left out that I find out when it starts going and I've missed something, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen, that I have that for you too.
That's incredible. And that's here in Florence, Alabama. And it's a beautiful little area too. You can actually, from right there at the building, walk down to the river from the house you're talking about. And I've not been to the house yet, but I know where it's at. And you can see the river. Beautiful little place, but certainly wonderful thing for families that are having to stay there, having their family members stay at the hospital for extended periods of time. We've had to encounter that in our family. Travis has had to encounter that. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there who have, and this will be a huge blessing to a lot of people.
I get a lot of stories.
I bet.
Now that people are knowing about Daisy's Place, and I want to hear their story. So I'm not complaining at all. I want to hear your story. But there are so many stories just like Daisy's story. And one thing I forgot, which is the best part, it's free.
Yeah.
It's free to stay at Daisy's place.
That is the best part.
That's the best part. Free is my
Don't get
favorite
that very
price.
much anymore.
Hey, I'm an old homeschool mom. Free was always my favorite price.
And it's not a conversion van, right?
It's not a conversion
Conversion
van.
vans are fine, but it's not in a parking garage conversion van. So that's probably
Exactly.
hopefully a little home away from home if they have to be.
Each of the 4 bedrooms has 2 twin beds. So there can be 2 caretakers
Okay.
that can switch out.
Wow.
You know, one does nights, one does days. What it would look like if we're brother and sister and grandma's in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
We would stay in, say, bedroom 1, and you get this bed, I get this bed, and we can figure out our
Roll
own
it around.
schedule
Yeah.
as we would. And then we would have access to everything in the common areas. And the individual bedrooms will have a push button lock for safety reasons,
Fine.
so that while you're at the hospital, you know your things are safe.
Sure.
And then to get in is a push button lock to get in. So the same code will get you in the front door as will get you in the bedroom, so that everyone feels secure and safe.
Yeah.
Safety is very important to me. If I would not feel okay and safe in there,
Right.
I will fix it to where I would feel okay and safe in there. So.
Well, do you, and this can be something if you don't know the answer to, that's okay, but do you have a date set in mind for when you think it'll be open and rolling?
I would love to say next week. The house is ready. I'm doing some tours right now and a couple open houses.
Okay.
And as of today, October, is today the 1st?
It is the 1st.
So keep in mind the date if you watch this in the future or listen. As of today, the house is ready to go, and I'm doing tours and open houses. Once I get opened, there won't be any more tours and open houses, because I will be protecting the privacy and security and quietness of my guests. But the funding is the only thing I'm waiting on now. The house is ready to go. Actually, I have a big, exciting announcement that's very new. Lowe's, the big store on the corner, is sponsoring Daisy's Place, and they're fixing to come do a big old project that I'm very excited about. Like,
that's massive.
They contacted me and said, Daisy's Place keeps coming up, and we want to do something.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Praise Lord. Praise Lord.
I was floored. It was a big surprise.
Wow. So what do you, if you could, put something out there, what is it that you could use or that you need? What kind of funding? Do you have kind of levels of sponsorship or funding, or how are you kind of handling that?
I actually do.
Okay.
I have anything as just donating a bar of soap.
Sure.
All the way to getting, let's say, bedroom 1 in memory of someone. And there are levels of sponsorship, and it says it on the site. And I think he's going to put out the website there, and it's daisies-place.org. But it'll show you on the sponsor page all the levels. Okay. And of course, the highest level is the daisies, or the basket of daisies. Okay. So I've kind of got it all flowery, but y'all guys don't care, do you?
It don't matter. To stay. That's the key. Nobody, you shouldn't complain if you have a free place to stay. So
that is what's holding us back at this point. The house very, very recently, just in the past couple of weeks, got 100% ready to go. Nice. And now we are waiting on the funding to come in. So we are needing funding. And like I said, any little thing, even a bar of soap helps. And I'm also looking for a spokesman to speak on behalf of Daisy's Place in congregations, to let it be known to the congregations. Maybe the elders know about Daisy's Place, and maybe even the ladies' service group knows about Daisy's Place, but the congregation doesn't. And the people of the congregations need to know, not just the elders and the ladies' service group or the mission groups. So that would be very helpful, to find someone that is maybe possibly, doesn't have to be, but it would be helpful if they had their own story, and so many people do. It is not uncommon most families have a story, and so that would help to spread the news. Because here's the thing about talking to people in Florence, Alabama, because that's where I'm branching out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going to be keeping people in Florence, Alabama. They can drive to the hospital. I'm going to be housing people that are outside of Florence, Alabama, that need to come in, that need a place to stay. Yeah. And so it may be 2 hours south, 2 hours west, 2 hours north. Probably won't be 2 hours east because of Huntsville Hospital.
Right.
But it could be 30, 45 minutes enough, or in a diagonal, up in Lexington, on the other side of Lexington, so it's a wide area that I need to cover and get the word out. So maybe Florence, Alabama knows, some people in Florence, Alabama know about Daisy's Place, but the farther out you get, they don't know.
So if you're listening to the podcast, or if you're watching the podcast on Facebook, share it. That would be great, because that would get the word out a little bit as well. But having somebody who could go and talk to churches, because a lot of people don't necessarily listen to podcasts or see it all the time, would be huge to have something like that. So that's awesome.
What is the best way to contact you? Is it best through the website? Is there an email address? Is there a number to call in case somebody does hear this and decides, hey, let's help that out? Is there a better way to contact you?
All of the above. Feel free to email me. It's info@daisies-place.org. On the website, if you go to the website, there's a contact page that has the email, and it has a contact form. But I'll give you the phone number. It's 256-629-6729. And that calls me.
All right.
So,
and if they want to take a tour, is
that
a good way to do that?
If you want to take a tour, call me. I would absolutely love to show you Daisy's Place. Bring the whole church. Bring the whole church.
Yeah.
Bring every one of your employees. If you're in a club, bring the whole club. I will accommodate you. I want people to see Daisy's Place, because it really makes it real.
Is the hospital going to sort of help in like families connecting, or is there a way that they can say, hey, there's a place that somebody's offering or whatever?
The social workers.
Okay.
It will be.
Know.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be the social workers.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's very
cool. I know that you have a Facebook page as well. And I'll obviously put all the links and contact info in the description of the episode, whether it's video or audio. And let me just thank you, honestly, for, once again, this tragedy, this difficulty in your life, taking that and using it for good to help others. And I think that's really what we're all about here on the podcast is really, I know all the English folks out there, English teachers probably hate this phrase because it's not very grammatically sound, but allowing God to show up and show out in this situation that you found yourself in, a circumstance that no parent wants to find themselves in, and using that as an opportunity to serve. As we like to do here on the podcast, we like to ask a little question at the end to get to know our guests a little better. And so I'm going to go with the tried and true question. What song, if it comes on the radio and you're in the car, doesn't matter if there's somebody in there with you or not, they're going to get the performance of a lifetime.
And I can imagine that driving back and forth to Vanderbilt a lot, you listen to some music, so there's got to be something there.
Well, the songs that we were listening to for that was Apple, Apple, baby, baby, but. Those were the songs we were listening to.
So, that's jamming, but maybe there's a different one for you.
We got the performance here,
man. Bed now. That might be it.
I don't really listen. For one, I'm not a big music listener, but my radio died in my car, so that's another reason. But if I did need a pick-me-up song, I really like the song I Can See Clearly Now the Rain Is Gone.
That's a good one.
I love that. It's got a neat little upbeat beat. My singing is...
It doesn't matter. It's a joyful thing.
We're getting it either way. if that sounds
If you're out there listening, the first thing that Daisy's place needs is a radio for her car. I'm just kidding.
yeah, there you go. Well, I think it'd be great, to put the challenge out there to our listeners to donate to, and I say the very least, but really the most powerful thing you can do is pray for this ministry and this outreach. And especially, even if somebody wanted to come pray over the house, I'm sure that would be welcome. And those who will be staying there and praying a blessing over them. But Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us. I know it was a little disjointed in getting our timing down, but we got it done, and we certainly appreciate you joining us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.